After we got married, my husband's parent refused to acknowledge our wedding and said, "I'll never accept her as family." My husband looked uncomfortable but said nothing. I smiled, pulled out a set of papers, and said, "Perfect, because I just legally removed you from ours." Their smug expression vanished instantly. We were still in our wedding attire when it happened. I was standing in my in-laws' living room, the lace of my dress brushing against their spotless hardwood floors. The air was thick with tension, and the silence that followed their words felt like it could crush me. "I'll never accept her as family," my husband's mother, Margaret, said, her voice dripping with disdain. His father, Richard, nodded. "As far as we're concerned, this marriage never happened. She means nothing to us." I felt my husband's fingers tighten slightly in mine. I turned to look at him, hoping, praying, he would say something, anything to defend me. He hesitated. He shifted uncomfortably, glancing at his parents like a child caught between two fighting adults. But he said nothing. That was all I needed to see. I smiled, reached into my bag, and pulled out a set of documents I had been carrying for months. "Perfect," I said, setting them down on their pristine coffee table. "Because I just legally removed you from our lives." Margaret's smug expression vanished instantly. I should have seen this coming. I should have known this was how it would end. I met Daniel 5 years ago when we were both working in finance in New York. Our schedules were brutal, and our office was a pressure cooker, but we found comfort in each other. He was smart, kind, and genuinely funny in a way that made even the worst days feel lighter. I loved him. I still do. When we got engaged, I was over the moon. I thought his family would be happy for us. I thought they'd welcome me. I was wrong. From the moment I met them, I was nothing but an outsider. Margaret and Richard came from old money in Connecticut. They had a certain way of doing things, and anyone who didn't fit into their carefully curated world was dismissed. And I was not what they wanted for their son. I grew up in a middle-class family in Pittsburgh. My parents worked hard for everything we had, and while we never went without, we weren't wealthy. We didn't vacation in Europe every summer. We didn't have family connections to Ivy League universities. To them, I was beneath their son. Margaret made it clear from the start. The first time I met her, she greeted me with a tight smile and a look that scanned me like I was something she needed to tolerate. She never outright insulted me, not at first. It was all in the little things. The way she would conveniently forget to introduce me to people at social gatherings. The way she corrected me whenever I spoke, as if my words were somehow wrong. The way she would bring up Daniel's ex-girlfriend, Elizabeth, every chance she got. Elizabeth was the ideal daughter-in-law in Margaret's eyes. They still had lunch together. Margaret still referred to her as practically family. Daniel told me to ignore it. "She just needs time," he'd say. "She's difficult with new people." But it wasn't just Margaret. Richard was worse. He was colder, quieter, but every word he spoke was calculated to make me feel like I didn't belong. He'd make little comments about my job, my background, my upbringing. "That's an interesting career choice," he'd say, in a tone that made it clear he thought it wasn't good enough. Or, "Your parents must be very proud. It must be nice to have worked your way up." And then there were the big moments. The time they invited Daniel to a family dinner and conveniently forgot to tell me. The time they sent him a Christmas gift but ignored me entirely. The time they had a family reunion and didn't even mention it to us, until we saw the pictures on social media. Every time, Daniel would tell me to be patient. That they would come around. That they just needed time. 4 years of this. 4 years of being dismissed, disrespected, and treated like an outsider. Then came the wedding. I didn't expect them to be enthusiastic, but I did expect them to show up. They didn't. They didn't come to the rehearsal dinner. They didn't come to the ceremony. No call, no text, no excuse. Just nothing. Daniel was devastated. I was angry. And then they had the nerve to invite us over the day after the wedding. Daniel thought maybe, just maybe, this was it. That they had finally decided to accept us. I knew better. But I went anyway. When we arrived, they were sitting in their grand living room, sipping wine like it was any other day. No congratulations. No acknowledgement that we had just gotten married. And then Margaret said it. "I'll never accept her as family." Richard followed up with, "As far as we're concerned, this never happened. She means nothing to us." I looked at Daniel. He hesitated. He opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked at them. Then at me. then back at them. And said nothing. I felt something inside me snap. I had spent years trying to be good enough for these people. Years hoping for a shred of kindness, of basic human decency. I was done. I reached into my bag and pulled out the documents I had been carrying for months. Margaret's eyes narrowed. What's that? I placed them on the table, right between their untouched wedding gifts. Legal documents, I said. Officially removing you from our lives. Margaret let out a sharp laugh. You can't be serious. Richard scoffed. This is her idea, isn't it? He turned to Daniel, shaking his head. She's manipulating you. Daniel didn't respond. Margaret snatched up the papers and started reading. I watched as her face changed. The smugness disappeared. Her mouth pressed into a thin line. What the hell is this, she muttered. Richard grabbed the papers from her and skimmed through them. His expression darkened. This, I said, voice steady, is a legal declaration of no contact. From this moment forward, you have no place in our lives. Silence. And then Margaret's face crumpled. Danny, she said, her voice suddenly softer. Sweetheart, you don't have to do this. We love you. Funny how quickly things changed. Richard was glaring at me, his jaw clenched so tightly I thought his teeth might break. You think you can just erase us, he growled. I met his gaze, unfazed. You erased me first. Margaret reached for Daniel's hand. Please. Don't let her do this. Daniel swallowed hard. His grip on my hand tightened. And then, for the first time in his life, he chose me. I think this is for the best, he said quietly. Margaret gasped like he had slapped her. Richard stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. If you walk out that door, don't ever come back. Daniel hesitated. And then he turned toward me. My heart pounded. And then, Daniel turned to me. His parents were watching, waiting, their faces frozen in disbelief. His mother's hand was still stretched toward him, her fingers trembling slightly. His father stood rigid, his jaw tight. I could feel Daniel's hesitation. His grip on my hand tightened for a moment, then loosened. His eyes flickered between me and them, his breathing shallow. For a second, I thought he was going to waver. That he was going to turn back. Then, he took a deep breath and faced them. We're leaving. His mother's lips parted, like she was about to say something. But no words came out. His father wasn't so silent. If you walk out that door, don't ever come back, he said, his voice like steel. Daniel swallowed hard. And then we left. Neither of us spoke in the car. Daniel kept his hands on the wheel, eyes fixed on the road, his face blank. I sat beside him, watching the city lights blur past the window. My heart was still racing, adrenaline coursing through me. I had imagined this moment so many times. I thought it would feel like freedom. Like breaking chains. But instead, it felt heavy. Daniel had just cut off his family. No matter how toxic they had been, they were still his parents. And despite everything, part of me wondered if he would resent me for it. When we got home, he went straight to the bedroom without a word. I didn't follow. I gave him space, knowing that whatever was going on in his head, he had to work through it himself. But that night, he didn't hold me. And in the morning, he was gone. I woke up to an empty bed. Daniel's suit from last night was crumpled on the chair, his wedding ring on the nightstand. But he was nowhere to be found. Panic gripped me. I grabbed my phone and called him. No answer. I texted. Where are you? Nothing. By noon, I was pacing the apartment. Had he gone back to them? Had he changed his mind? It wasn't until late afternoon that he finally walked through the door. He looked exhausted. His tie was gone, his shirt wrinkled, dark circles under his eyes. He didn't say anything as he set his keys down on the counter. Where were you? I asked. He sighed. I just needed to think. I studied him, my chest tightening. You went to see them, didn't you? He didn't answer right away. Finally, he nodded. Yeah. My stomach dropped. What did they say? He let out a bitter laugh. The same thing they always do. That I'm making a mistake. That you've manipulated me. That I'm ruining my life. I clenched my fists. And what do you think? He looked at me then, his eyes filled with something I couldn't quite read. I don't know. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. The next few weeks were tense. Daniel was quieter. Distant. He still loved me, I knew that, but something had shifted. And then the messages started. First, it was his mother. Margaret, Daniel, I know you're upset. Please, just come home and talk. Margaret. We can fix this. You don't have to throw away your family. Then his father. Richard, you're being a fool. You'll regret this. Daniel ignored them. He barely looked at his phone anymore. But then, they changed tactics. They started reaching out to my family. My mother called me one afternoon, her voice tight with concern. His parents just called us. I nearly dropped my coffee. What? They told us you're ruining Daniel's life. That you've brainwashed him. They said, she hesitated. They said you forged those documents. I nearly choked. What? They're claiming you tricked him into signing. I could feel my blood boiling. This was a new low, even for them. They're desperate, I said, trying to steady my voice. They know they lost, so they're trying to make me look like the villain. My mother hesitated. Are you sure Daniel is really okay with all this? That question stung. Of course he is, I said quickly. He's the one who made the choice. But even as I said it, doubt started creeping in. I confronted Daniel that night. Your parents called my family. He was sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the TV. Yeah. I frowned. You knew? They called me, too. I inhaled sharply. And? He rubbed his face. I don't know, okay? They're still my parents. They don't act like it. He let out a bitter laugh. Yeah? And what about your parents? Are you seriously okay with them being dragged into this? My breath hitched. That's not the same. He stood up abruptly. Isn't it? We just cut them off, like they don't exist. Maybe they were horrible, but they raised me. I felt my chest tighten. What are you saying? He sighed, running a hand through his hair. I don't know if I can do this. The room spun. What? My voice came out barely above a whisper. I don't know if I can just pretend they don't exist. I felt the weight of his words press down on me. For the first time, I realized something terrifying. I had been so focused on cutting them off, on making a clean break, that I never considered what that meant for him. I thought we were on the same page. But maybe, just maybe, I had lost him, too. Daniel stood there, rubbing his face, his breathing uneven. I don't know if I can do this. His words echoed in my head, over and over, until they felt like a hammer pounding against my skull. What do you mean? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He exhaled sharply. I mean, I don't know if cutting them off completely was the right thing to do. Something inside me twisted. Daniel, they didn't even come to our wedding. They told you to your face that I don't matter. They went behind our backs and tried to turn my own family against me. What part of that is okay to you? He flinched. I'm not saying it's okay. Then what are you saying? He hesitated. They're still my parents. I stared at him, my stomach sinking. So, what? My voice was quiet now, a dangerous kind of calm. You want to go back to them? I don't know, he muttered, shaking his head. I just need time to think. Time. After everything we'd been through, after all the hell his parents had put me through, he needed time. I didn't say another word. I just turned and walked to the bedroom, slamming the door behind me. I didn't sleep that night. For the next few days, Daniel was distant. He went to work, came home, ate dinner, and barely spoke. I told myself he just needed space. That he'd come back to me. That we'd figure this out. But then, I saw the message. It was a Saturday morning. Daniel was in the shower, and his phone buzzed on the nightstand. I wouldn't have checked it. I never did. But something, told me to look. I picked up his phone. It was unlocked. And right there, at the top of his messages, was a text from Margaret. Margaret, thank you for coming to see us yesterday. We know this is hard on you. You'll always be our son. My heart stopped. Yesterday. He had gone back to them. And he hadn't told me. I scrolled up. The messages had been wiped clean, except for that one. I stood there, staring at the screen, my whole body trembling. When Daniel walked out of the bathroom, towel around his waist, he froze the moment he saw me holding his phone. I looked up at him, my hands shaking. You went to see them? His face paled. It's not what you think. Oh, really? My voice was sharp, cold. Because it looks like you went behind my back to see the people who have done nothing but disrespect me. He ran a hand through his wet hair, sighing. I just needed to talk to them. And you didn't think to tell me? I knew you'd react like this, he snapped. I let out a hollow laugh. You lied to me, Daniel. How did you think I'd react? Silence. I could see the guilt in his eyes. But it wasn't enough. Did you tell them you regret cutting them off? I asked. He hesitated. And that hesitation told me everything. I nodded slowly, my throat tightening. Got it. I set his phone down and walked past him. Wait, where are you going? He asked, reaching for my arm. I yanked away. I need air. And then I left. I didn't know where I was going. I just walked. It wasn't until I found myself standing outside a coffee shop that I realized what I needed to do. I pulled out my phone and made a call. 20 minutes later, I was sitting across from Elizabeth, Daniel's ex. She looked surprised when she saw me. I wasn't expecting this, she said, sipping her coffee. Neither was I admitted. She raised an eyebrow. So, what's going on? I took a deep breath. Tell me about his parents. Elizabeth tilted her head. Why? I leaned forward. Because I need to know what I'm really dealing with. She studied me for a moment, then sighed. You're not the first one they've tried to get rid of, you know. I stiffened. What do you mean? She stirred her coffee absent-mindedly. They hated me, too. Not as much as they hate you, but they didn't approve of me either. Margaret used to tell Daniel I was too soft. That I wasn't ambitious enough. That I wasn't what a thorn should marry. I frowned. Then why do they like you now? She smirked bitterly. Because I left. My stomach twisted. They broke me, she continued. They turned Daniel against me, made him second-guess everything. And when I finally had enough and walked away, that's when they decided I was one of them. I swallowed hard. So, what are you saying? She leaned forward, her eyes sharp. I'm saying, they're playing the long game. They want you to leave. They're getting in his head, making him doubt you, waiting for you to break. I felt my chest tighten. They won't stop, she said. They'll push until you're gone. And when you finally give up, when you finally walk away? That's when they'll pull him back in. I exhaled shakily. I had thought cutting them off would be the end of this. But now, I realized. It was only the beginning. When I got home, Daniel was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at his phone. He looked up when I walked in, relief flooding his face. I was getting worried, he said, standing up. Where did you go? I dropped my purse on the counter. I had coffee with Elizabeth. He froze. What? I crossed my arms. She told me everything. His jaw clenched. Why would you go to her? Because I needed to hear the truth. I took a step closer. Tell me, Daniel. Are they winning? Are they getting in your head? He swallowed hard. I kept going. Are you waiting for me to walk away, so you don't have to be the one to make the choice? His eyes flashed with something, guilt, anger, fear. I don't want to lose you, he whispered. I stared at him. Then prove it. Silence stretched between us. And for the first time, I didn't know if he would. The silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. Daniel wouldn't meet my eyes. His hands were clenched at his sides, his breathing uneven. I could see it, the war raging inside him. He wanted to be on my side. He wanted to stand by me. But he was still tethered to them. Daniel, I said softly, I need to hear you say it. Are they getting in your head? He swallowed hard. I don't know. I exhaled sharply, my chest tightening. You don't know? His voice wavered. I love you. But they're my parents. I took a shaky breath, my fingers curling into fists. Do you know what Elizabeth told me? His eyes flicked up to mine, guarded. She said they did this to her, too. They made her question everything, made her feel like she wasn't enough, made you doubt her. I stepped closer. And when she finally left, when she walked away, that's when they accepted her. He flinched. Is that what you're waiting for? My voice was barely a whisper. For me to leave? No, he said immediately. Too fast. But the hesitation before had already answered my question. I felt something inside me crack. I nodded slowly, my throat tight. I get it now. Daniel's eyes widened. No, wait, I stepped back. You're not actually choosing me. You're just waiting for me to give up first. I'm not, he insisted, his voice rising. He ran a hand through his hair, his breathing shaky. It's not that simple. It is that simple, I shot back. It's me or them. And you're too much of a coward to say it out loud. His face twisted in pain. That's not fair. I let out a bitter laugh. Fair? I shook my head. Fair would have been them treating me like a human being from the start. Fair would have been you standing up for me years ago, instead of making me fight this alone. He opened his mouth to speak, but I held up a hand. No. I'm done. My voice was sharp, unwavering. You need to make a choice, Daniel. And you need to do it right now. His face paled. You're giving me an ultimatum? I stared at him. I'm giving you a reality check. Silence. He looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw something break in his expression. He knew. He knew that no matter what happened next, everything was about to change. I don't know how long we stood there, frozen in the middle of our kitchen. Then, his phone buzzed. We both looked at it at the same time. Margaret. A simple message popped up on the screen. Margaret, we're waiting. Come home. The air in the room shifted. Something inside me snapped. I grabbed his phone and threw it against the wall. Daniel jumped as the screen shattered, the sound sharp in the tense silence. What the hell, he shouted. She is manipulating you, I snapped. And you're letting her. His face was red now, anger rising to meet mine. You can't just, no, I cut in. You don't get to be angry right now. I pointed to the broken phone. That's nothing compared to what they've done to us. To me. He pressed his lips together, his chest rising and falling rapidly. Then, his expression twisted. You've been pushing me this whole time. His voice was raw, shaking. You wanted me to cut off my family. Do you know how hard that is? I stared at him. They're not family, Daniel. Family doesn't do what they've done. His hands clenched at his sides. You don't get it. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Oh, I get it just fine. Something in him snapped. You never even tried to understand what this is like for me. I sucked in a breath. I had fought for us. I had endured years of their abuse, waiting for him to see it, to stop it. And now? Now he was blaming me? My voice was quiet, but firm. I have tried so hard to be enough for you. But no matter what I do, no matter what I suffer through, it's never enough. Because you will always let them win. He swallowed hard. That's not true. I shook my head. It is. Silence. Then, I said the words that sealed everything. I think you want me to leave. His face crumpled. No, you may not realize it yet, I whispered, my eyes burning, but deep down, you do. He took a shaky step forward. I love you. I exhaled sharply. Not enough. I packed a bag that night. Daniel sat on the couch, his head in his hands, saying nothing. He didn't stop me. He didn't fight for me. And that told me everything. I stayed at a friend's house for a few days, trying to breathe, trying to think. Daniel called a few times, but I ignored them. Then, on the fourth day, I got a text. From him. Daniel, I saw them today. You were right. They never wanted us to last. They wanted me back, and they got what they wanted. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Then another message came through. Daniel, I'm so sorry. But I think it's too late, isn't it? I took a shaky breath. And for the first time in years, I felt free. I wish I could say we fixed it. That he fought for me. That he finally chose me. But he didn't. Daniel went back to them. I don't know if it was out of guilt, out of exhaustion, or just because it was easier. But he chose them. And in doing so, he lost me. Months later, I heard through a mutual friend that Margaret had already started parading him around at social events, hinting at how he'd find someone more suitable soon. I should have been angry. I should have been devastated. But instead, I felt relief. Because I realized something. I never really lost him. He was never mine to begin with.